Hi everyone, this is Deborah. I'm trying out different techniques and lighting, but I wanted to do a video of the things that has shaped me as a person. So, some of this is good, some of this is bad, and I guess that's the way life is. So, here we go. I have notes because I'm so old. I gotta have notes about my life, right? The first thing that shaped me is when I was in junior high and high school. Some of my classmates would call me a whore. Now, I was a virgin. This is what I don't get about guys. Yeah, I don't get how they can just throw those names around. I think the problem was I was very well endowed. I still am. And I don't know, maybe that somehow agitated these guys, but that really made me very cautious and bitter. The next thing that happened to me is when I was 16, I was in a very serious car accident where I was in the hospital for a long time. And I think some of that accident has contributed to my neck and back problems. I was up in the air, probably hundreds of feet. The car went over this hill. I was even with the top of the trees, and then the car just went down like this, busted all four tires. But the one good thing that happened out of this is I met my husband. So that shaped me, that car accident. Another thing is, of course, I got married 2 years after that accident, and I got pregnant. And I think if you've ever been pregnant, you know the trials that you have. I was so sick with morning sickness that I threw up 3 times a day for the first trimester with my daughter. And to this day, I feel a little bit of guilt that maybe she didn't get the nutrients, but I couldn't even take a vitamin. Nowadays, I know that the doctors can do something for women, but back in the early 70s, the first 3 months was just really horrendous. I lost 25 pounds. It was so bad. But let's backtrack. While I was in high school, my mother and I just did not get along, and I had 2 jobs and my own car, and I had an uncle that would take me in. So I went to the courts, and I got emancipated at 16, which means I did not have to answer to no one. So that was pretty life-changing. I realized then that if you got the court behind your side, you can do about anything. All right, then I got pregnant with my son 2 years after my daughter was born, and this is something that I just can't fathom. Back in the 70s, it was like taboo to have children. I don't know what it was, but my mother-in-law did not want me to have children. I don't know what her reasoning was. I thought maybe she thought I was trapping her son. I don't know, but she really wanted me to abort both of my children. And I'm going, who in the hell does that? So that was very disturbing to me. And I fought this woman with tooth and nail. And I stood my ground. I dug my feet and refused to budge. Okay, the next thing was when I was a police officer. I wanted to work for a county that was closer to my home, and I was not hired because of sexual discrimination. I took the case to EEOC. 6 years later, the Federal Justice Department picked it up, and this is what really blows my mind to this day. My evidence was an article in the Richmond Times-Dispatch where the sheriff, he's now deceased so I can talk about it, he actually said to a reporter in the early 70s that he didn't want females on the road because the blacks were dangerous in that county. I mean, and that's how I won my case. So that shaped me. It let me know that life is not fair. Of course, you can't work for someone you sued. All right. The next thing that kind of shaped me was just how much I loved my dogs. I lost 2 dogs that put me down in a Great Depression. And I think until you have had the love of a dog, you realize just how strong those bonds can be, you know. Makes me cry. The next thing that shaped my life was after I started reading and educating myself, I realized that I was being abused mentally and physically. You name it, I was being abused. And after my divorce, that still continued. I don't know if I was attracted to a certain type of men. They all wanted that control. They were liars, you know. I mean, I didn't even know what abuse was, and that's the number one thing with women. A lot of them don't even know that they're being abused, and this is some serious stuff. So I recommend that you get on YouTube and look at as many videos you can about this, because I had no idea the things that would constitute abuse, you know, being abused. I think the honeymoon period really throws off a lot of women. When the guy, you know, love bombs you, oh, I love you, and they give you this really nice gift. Yeah, that, you know, that really just throws a lot of women off. Then during my divorce, I realized that no one cares. No one. This was probably the number one thing that just blew my mind, that all my relatives and my friends who I thought were my friends, during my divorce, they wanted nothing to do with me because they knew just how powerful my ex could have been or is. And yeah, throw that right out the door. I had, like my little sister said, I had to put on my big girl panties. I didn't even know what that meant, but I know now. It means suck it up. Deal with it. I had to deal with 7 court cases, and none of them was really about the divorce. It was all the other issues. So yeah, it was petrifying to me. To go in front of a judge, to me, is 100 times worse than going to a dentist. Another thing that shaped me is I wish I had left my marriage sooner. I could kick myself, because what guy in his right mind is going to want a 63-year-old woman? So don't let those best years pass you by because of your religion, or your mom might not like you if you get a divorce, or, you know, whatever. Just do it. And another thing that shaped me is that a woman can be happy and can have fun without a man. That was a big lesson for me. I always thought that a guy, you know, is the only thing that could make me happy. No, when you realize that you make yourself happy, it's a conscious decision, whether you have money or whether you're poor, whether you're good looking, whether you're not. It's like Abraham Lincoln said, it's just a mindset, you know. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.